Welcome to the SOB radio show, where we have fun, interesting guests, and hot topics. Each week, we offer insights into music, fashion, health, fitness, and humor. Do you have the perfect guest for us to interview? I want to know. Drop me a line on our Facebook page at SpunkyOldBroad1 or reach out to me on our website at spunkyoldbroad.com. And now, back to the show. Welcome back, folks, to SOB Radio, and my guest is Amy Sherman, who has a degree in counseling and psychology, and is a therapist and a certified dating and relationship coach. We've gone over what the challenges are for women in their 50s, what it means to reinvent yourself, how to motivate yourself when your goals seem so far away, how you get back into the dating world, and the 3 tips for improving your relationship with anybody. So, what I'd like to know next is, and I think this can be good and bad. I have mixed feelings about this. Your social circle of girlfriends. You say it's very important, and I do have girlfriends. I don't have a lot of them. I have maybe 3, 4, 5 that are good friends. But I have as many male friends as I do girlfriends. And that comes from, I think, being in business so long because when I got in business, there were no women really in business. So tell us about your social circle of girlfriends and why it's so important.
Okay. And, when I say social circle, I don't mean you have to have a lot of women friends. You just need to have somebody you can talk to because women by nature are community oriented. We like to, we're the gatherers, so we socialize and we talk a lot and, commiserate. And so we really have a special bond that men may not experience or have. Now, it doesn't mean we shouldn't have male friends, and I have plenty of male friends as well as female friends. But female friends are very important. And the reason for that is that it seems that women, when they're under stress or when they need, there's just something going on, they need to talk to somebody, talk to a close friend or a female friend has a calming effect. There's a hormone that's released. I think it's oxytocin. But women find that venting to their closest friends has it has like a psychosocial venue to it that comes very naturally. You may find that when you're around your girlfriends, a lot of times you're not speaking, but you kind of are on the same page. And you may not, I mean, of course, I'm generalizing here, but you may not have that same experience with men. A colleague of mine told me that her son, who's 40 years old and a veterinarian, he says when he needs to talk something over with his other colleagues, he goes to the female vets because they seem to listen more, they seem to share more, and they seem to understand more. So his male veterinarians, he talks whatever he talks about, but the female he'll get more out of. And I thought that was very interesting.
It is interesting, yeah. I mean, and I can see that. Especially when there's some commonalities there between you.
Yeah, we have that common thread. We talk about, when women get together in general, and of course, again, these are generalities. We'll talk, how's your family? How are the kids? How are the grandkids? We'll go into the whole family kind of thing, or orientation, how you're feeling, and we'll talk about how we're feeling. Men, certainly they'll ask about grandkids and so on, but they also, the sports, the electronics, the cars, they go a little more peripheral, I think. And again, not to say that men don't talk about real things or feelings, but women will more naturally go into that venue, aside from talking about their work and, the frustrations of work, perhaps, and the stress they're feeling at work and whatever else. But it just seems because that it comes more natural to talk about feelings for women than it is for men. Another thing about your girlfriends and close friends or just having that social network is that it decreases the research has shown that it decreases the likelihood of getting age-related dementia and other illnesses. So you may have heard of those, I forget now what they call those hotspots where people are old in California, and they're all socializing, these people in their 80s and 90s socializing, they play cards together. They're doing, because they have this network, they're doing really well, and the support system is very beneficial for your overall health. So, a circle of friends of any gender is important, but be sure, and I always say this to my female clients, to make sure you have somebody, a female that you can talk to, who you can trust, obviously, and who's on perhaps the same page as you in interests and other things that are important to you.
Yeah, I can see that. And of course, you talked about people in their 80s and 90s who are doing well. It is hard to tell people's age today. When we look at, they say 50 is the new 40, and they say 60 is the new 50. And I
Hmm.
was at an event the other day, and someone was complaining, "Oh, I'm so old," and blah 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 blah. And I went up to him later, and I said, "Don't think you're the oldest one in the room." And another woman came up and said, "Well, I am the old." I said, "No, I bet I'm older than you are." And she said, "Oh no," she said, "I'm 80." And I said, "Well, I'm 81." She said, "You're kidding," because everybody thinks I'm in my 60s, but I'm a good old 81.
Wow.
So, but it's the energy that I have, and it's everything that I'm interested in, and how I keep myself active and so forth. But why is 50 the new 40?
Well, just because of what you just said, you have a lot of energy and you don't feel 80, you just don't feel your age. How does that feel? I don't know. But, and in all the ages that we have, I remember when I was a little girl and I asked my mother, "Ma, what does it feel like to be 39?" And she says, "I don't know. I still feel 18." And I've never
Uh-huh.
forgotten that, because now, in our 60s, 70s, 80s, and so on, what does it feel like to be that age? We don't know. We're in it. And if you're vibrant and you're energized and you don't think of the number as something that's going to debilitate you, then you're going to keep living as if you're 18 years old. I think it was George Burns who said, "You may be getting older, but you don't have to get old."
And that's the truth, because
Yeah,
I have friends of mine who are like 40 and they act 80, and I have friends that are 80 who act 40. So it absolutely is not a
right.
chronological age. It's in your head and your mindset.
Yeah. When you're a child and you see a sunset or you see a bunny, and what's the first thing out of your mouth? Wow, look at that, look at that. I feel if we get back, and I call it the wow factor, just to go around looking at things as if it's the first time and to excite yourself again. It's almost like self-discovery, get that energy back, and so when you see a beautiful sunset, what do we all say? Wow, look at that. Do that for a beautiful rose, do that for a cute baby. Use the word wow, because that kind of sets you up for like excitement and energy and vibration and all this stuff. So you stay feeling young. Nobody, I think, nowadays who's 50 years old will say, "Oh yeah, I'm a senior citizen," or I don't think most people will say that. Our parents used to retire at 65 and that was it. They weren't working anymore. They were home. Now when you speak to people, most people are saying, "I'm not retiring."
Well, that's true. And I have to laugh about something. My very first business was modeling. And this was back in the 50s, well, late 50s, early 60s, and a matron model back then
Hmm.
was 35.
Oh, yes,
And
yes.
now, if you're 35, you look 21. And,
Hmm.
people are still, modeling and doing things like that. But I think, again, this has a lot to do with how you look at things, and your own, your own attitude. And that's why I think mindset is so important. So if you're a pessimist, by nature, "Oh no, no, this will never work." Uh, can you change that to be an optimist? I mean, and I think, um, in fact, somebody said to me about a month ago, the new word is resiliency. And I guess that's true. Are we resilient? So give us some input on those things.
Okay, how do you know if you're a pessimist? How do you know if you're an optimist? And I always say, ask yourself this question: what do I tell myself about what is happening? So, for instance, you have a car accident, somebody rear ends you. You get out of your car and you go, "Oh, God, this is the worst thing that could happen today. It's going to cost me so much money. I don't know what I'm going to do." And you go on and on and on. Or you get out of the car and you say, oh my goodness, are you okay? Is everything all right? The insurance will take care of it. Two viewpoints of the same incident. So ask yourself, what am I telling myself about what's happening in my life? Is the first thing out of my mouth the word, horrible, negative, terrible things, and you're putting yourself down? Or is it everything will be okay? I'll get through this. I'm all right. Then you know if you're an optimist and a pessimist. Now, both of those can be are learned behaviors. So, people may be more inclined towards one because of your personality, but you can learn to be an optimist. And what you have to do is be aware that you are not an optimist by your self-talk. And, think about what do I need to tell myself now instead of the negative thing. Susan Kobasa, she's a psychologist, I don't know, a PhD, who did a lot of research on resiliency. And she came up with 3 factors that people who are resilient, who are optimistic, what they have, and I want to share that. She says the first thing is resilient people consider their problems as challenges. So in other words, if you use the word, oh, this is such a problem, then you're more of you're less resilient, less hardy, a little more negative. If you would say, oh, this is challenging, then you know that you're a little more optimistic. So rather than, thinking about stuff, that, hurdles in your life as a problem, if you consider them a challenge, she believes, Susan Kobasa says, that people who consider them challenges that they're going to overcome, they're more resilient and they're more optimistic. Another thing she says is that people who are resilient, they feel that they could take charge of any situation to some degree, of course, and that they have some level of control over it. So when the doctor says, you have, this illness and, you have to do this, that, and the other thing, hardy people will say, okay, I will do that. But in addition to that, I'm going to do, change my diet. I'm going to do yoga. I'm going to, and they go through a whole litany of what else they can do because they take control of the situation. So optimistic people who are hardy, resilient, whatever word, will consider problems as challenges and take control of their life. And the last one, and there are 3 C's, is commitment. People who are resilient and hardy also persevere. They don't give up that easily. So there will be obstacles that you face. You will have to jump certain things. They set goals, but they also see, as we spoke about earlier, about motivation and keeping your goal in sight. They do that. Things are, they keep it in the forefront of their mind. So even when things are not going well, they stay committed to keep their motivation and their focus on what they want. And those type of people, if you have control, challenge, and commitment, are the people who are the most optimistic and the most, they live longer also, but they do better, and their outlook on life is much more healthier, and and basically what we want, to live a healthy life and to grow old gracefully.
Well, those are all good things to consider, and it's interesting because when I look at what's going on and what people are going through right now, it's interesting, and I found this really amazing because as people started talking about this, I started asking ages, and I found women as young as 45 talking about their legacies.
Mm.
I'm finding that women are talking about the legacy that they want to leave. So how do you find that? I mean, you talk about it in terms of purpose. I'm hoping by the time they get to 50, they know what their purpose is, but I guess some people don't. But where does legacy come into this? Where does purpose come into this? How do people know what they want? And do they make these grand changes?
Well, most people don't know what they want. They don't know what their legacy is, because if you ask them, they'll go, I don't know. My mom is 97 years old, and she used to be an avid reader. She read 3 newspapers a day. She has macular degeneration now, so she can't see, which is very sad. But she also was a writer. So she used to write beautiful articles and letters to the editor. She was very involved politically, and at which she still is at 97. And what she did do was she wrote down anecdotes of her childhood, and she gave it to my sister and myself. And we have now this wonderful book of when she was a little girl, growing up, teenagehood, and so on. So, and without even realizing it, she just did it. It came natural to her. She's a writer, so she just figured, let me pass on some wonderful, stories about what it was like. And anybody could do because we all have stories. We all have, and it doesn't have to be written beautifully. If you put down your thoughts on paper and then pass it on to your family and children or whoever wants it. You could even make it into a book and sell it. But, that is leaving a legacy. It does give you purpose. I always feel that if you want to know what your purpose is in life, what do you want to leave behind? What do you want people to know about you or say about you? You need to know yourself first. So, I like to ask women, what are your talents? What are your strengths? What are the gifts that you have? If you are a writer, then that's that's the venue you need to use to kind of pass on information to others. If you're a nature buff, that's the venue you need to use to educate and to pass on your knowledge to others. Do you like gardening? Are you an organic gardener? I don't know. Use that as a venue. Find out what it is you are good at, what your skills are, what your talents are, and indulge in those activities, that honor all of the gifts that you have now, because it will get passed on as part of your purpose and perhaps your legacy to others. And that's a wonderful, message to leave to others, just about who you are and what you loved.
But don't you think that a lot of people don't recognize their talents or skills as their talents or skills? When people say to me, well, there's nothing unusual about me, I say, ask your friends. Your
Right.
friends will tell you what's unusual about you or
Mm-hmm.
what they find significant about you. And it's really interesting because I know that, for example, people say to me, oh, well, you do this so well, or this seems so easy for you. And I don't even think about it because it is easy for me, or because it does come naturally to me. So it's interesting because sometimes we don't value the things that we do easily because we do them so easily. It's like you have to struggle for it to mean something, and that's not true. I mean, you can have wonderful abilities that don't have to be taken upon. For example, you say it if it feels good, if it feels good to feel good, what do you need to do to maintain that? And even though I've had many, you know, incidents in my life, it's very hard for me to be depressed. I can say I can get depressed for 30 seconds and then I'm out of it. I just don't stay there. It's not a place for me. I just am not happy there and I don't like it there and I just can't stay there. So, how do you think people are able to maintain feeling good?
Mm. Well, you should bottle whatever it is you're doing.
I know. Because believe me, there have been some real crises, and I'm still happy.
That is terrific. Well, so you are a hardy person, a resilient person, obviously, because that's half the battle is understanding that it really does. Who walks around saying, "God, I feel like being lousy today"?
That's
Nobody
right,
does that.
exactly.
Yeah, we want to feel good because it feels good to feel good, and that is like my motto. It feels good to feel good. So what do I need to do to get there? And but people, as we talked earlier about being a pessimist, they don't go there that often. So for the clients that I see that are not quite there, I encourage them. First of all, awareness is the first step in anything. And all of that we talked about, you have to be aware of where you are, who you are, what you want, what you like. You have to really be aware. But if you could stay flexible, be open, to new ideas. Somebody may come along and say, hey, have you tried this way of thinking or doing or being or whatever it is? Or have you tried this product that will help you, do better, be better? Be open, be flexible. So many people are closed to change because they're comfortable. We all like to stay in our comfort zone. So you need to be open to the possibility of something being better for you and then try it. And I give them the analogy, if you're putting on a new coat and it's too tight, you take it off, you put on another new coat. Keep trying different ideas because that's what makes it, the possibility of things being great for you. So yes, stay flexible, be open to new ideas and possibilities. And the other is to laugh a lot, play a lot, and don't let your age determine how you should feel. So I think you, Dr. Gayle, have mastered all of those because you are living it, and so you're a wonderful example of how to stay feeling good because it feels good just to feel good. Why get caught up in that the blah and feeling lousy feeling, because we know that doesn't feel good. So you just walk around that way, and it's easier to stay in that mode than to lift yourself up and out of it. So it really does take some training and some work, but part of what you can do to get there is to be open to some suggestions from other people who've experienced different things, and it may work for you as well.
Well, it's interesting because, not that I am looking, because I'm perfectly happy living by myself. But people say, well, why don't you, are you looking to get married again? Are you looking to... No, I'm not. But I said, if I did find somebody, they would have to have, one, a terrific sense of humor. Two, they can't smoke. And three, they have to love animals. So those are my three criteria. But anyway, let's tell people, how can they get a hold of you, Amy? Where can they find you? Do you have anything you want to offer our guests? Tell us how to get in touch with you.
Okay. Well, go to my websites. I have a few. AmyShermanCoaching.com, AmyShermanCounseling.com, and your Baby Boomers with an S Network.com. So you'll get a whole potpourri of who I am, what I do, and all that. For those single people, I do have a free ebook that you could get if you go to Women Dating After 40, and that's 40.com. And just sign up, and you'll get the free ebook as well as some wonderful weekly emails. A newsletter that I send out every week. Lots of good information about dating and just being a good partner. So
fantastic. Well, take advantage of what Amy is offering, because she is an expert in her field. She knows what she's doing. She's got this Baby Boomers network. I think that there's a lot of things that you can take advantage of there, and I think that it would be very smart of you to do that. The other thing is, again, if you want to reach out to me, have a conversation, tell me something that you would like me to cover on the show, or guests you'd like me to have, or anything you want to talk to me about, just go to spunkyoldbroad.com, fill out the contact sheet, put down what you want to say, and I will get back to you almost immediately. So we have about 2 minutes left, Amy. What would you like to say that we have not covered so far?
Well, I have a quote that I want to share that I found, and it goes like this. If you are interested, you'll do what's convenient. If you are committed, you'll do whatever it takes. And I like that quote because, so many people say, yeah, I want this. I want, I want to change jobs. I want that. But you really, we all want things. But if you are really committed to doing it, you will do what it takes to get there. So that's part of being a hardy person, resilient. That's part of knowing what you want, staying motivated. And it also means that you are, committed to you are determined to get really what you want to make your life more happier and more satisfactory. I often tell my clients, on a scale from 1 to 10, how willing are you to make changes? And if it's anything less than, 10 being the best, if it's 8 and less, or rather 8 and above, then I know those people are really committed to doing what they need to do to make things happen. And if it's anything less than that, then I say, okay, well, we'll see if they make it. So yeah, to be interested in making changes, but also be committed so that you will do whatever it takes to make it happen.
Well, that sounds great. Yeah, I know I'm going to be going through a lot of change myself because my son is moving me to California, and
Wow.
so even though I've been in California, for the last many years, back and forth every month, leaving Miami and committing to California is a big step. So, but I'm doing it, and there you have commitment. So,
Good for you. Well,
my
you're an inspiration, Dr. Gale. You
Well,
really are.
thank you. And my guest has been Amy Sherman. Just a delight. A lot of things to offer you. Be sure to be in touch with her. Check out her website. And thank everybody for being with us today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.